Yeah, we're talking about like instincts today, which I don't know if I've used that word with you before, um, but it's kind of the new way that I've come to understand um, signaling from your body, I guess, you know. And so, a bit of a bold claim, but if you aren't using your instincts, you aren't living an authentic life, I would say. And so, I'll kind of explain this through, I guess, a problem, and that is the world of repetition that we live in, you know? And so you'll often see on like a macro level and also a micro level that we pretty much see iterations of the same problems playing out. We see the same wars, same political mistakes, and we talk about the same things. We have the same health problems as a society. In micro levels, we often get recurring injuries that never seem to like fully resolve. We have the same relational conflicts like appearing over different relationships with different people, and it's almost like we're having the same relationship over and over again. And probably a fair amount of this can be put down to the fact that we never, like, in a way, a lot of us don't fully recover from potentially how we were raised. So that the way that our the beliefs and judgments and all the things that our parents instilled in us, we never fully clear all that and just become ourselves, and so we repeat all of these things over our life. And I think we do um we do grow and change. We absolutely do, but the problem is that we change at a very slow rate, so it's like um we don't clear things over a whole lifetime. We might, over a lifetime, we might get a quarter of the way through clearing our baggage or something, and if we have kids in that lifetime, okay, then they're a quarter better off, but they're not, we don't fully clear it and then fully let them be themselves, and so this is what I was saying. If we don't change and adapt and grow quick enough to resolve the damage and destruction, we just create repetition over and over again. And when it appears at that micro level, um, it also appears like on a societal level. And so we can change a lot quicker than we are currently. We have the ability in our bodies to very quickly change and very quickly adapt to what's happened to us. But often what prevents us from doing this is that we don't listen to our bodies. So instead, we listen to these, like I mentioned before, the ideas, beliefs, judgments, all these kinds of things that we have about the world, that we've just gathered from outside, and these never change. And so we wonder why we feel like we're not changing, or we feel like we look at the outside world and things don't change. And it's because the way that we're experiencing the world is through the ideas that we have about it, and those ideas are remaining fixed, right? So the path ahead is basically, how do we break free of this cycle of repetition that we're in and start living at the leading edge of our life? And so I think that we do that by learning to listen to it, the intelligence of our body, and quieten down the importance that we place on those beliefs, biases, and judgments. Um, and when we learn to listen to our body, this separates us, I think, from a lot of like most other people, because now we're all of a sudden in the uniqueness of our body and that expression that we like physically. There's no one like us, no one with the capacity, and no one's lived the experience that we have. There's an intelligence in us that's completely unique to us, that if we can um, connect with that and live with that, live through that, we have a much more unique and creative approach to life. So here, yeah, you'll learn how we do that, how we listen to our body, how that can separate us from other people around us, make us a high performer, how it can connect you deeper with other people as well, strengthening your relationships and increasing your sensitivity to the needs and desires of others, and then learning to listen to your body, you know? So let's just get stuck in with what instincts are. So we have to we're figuring out what instincts are so that we can figure out how to change them quickly and start making more of these original specific decisions that move us forward rather than repeat the same old patterns. So instincts are motivations from our body to act. And so they often feel like a creative insight or like an aha moment, you know? And they are the natural urge to survive and thrive that's coming from your body. It's your body's response to the problems of life. If you think of a good example is like if you think of a plant growing under a rock, it's kind of on autopilot. And I put that photo there of the tree growing on the edge of a cliff. I guess you could say maybe that's a cliff, but life will find a way. It's literally in its design and in its structure and DNA to figure out a way to get through the problems of life. And human problems, like humans, are no different. We have this exact same structure and design, but our problems are just often more complex. But the good thing is we are also more complex than trees. So we're capable of dealing with the complexity of our lives. We have more moving parts. We have greater intelligence and sensitivity. And so instincts are essentially nature's decision-making process. So life is self-solving. The information that provides the solution is the sensation of the problem. So, for example, here you might go like pressure in your bladder is the solution to the problem, right? Like you know exactly what you need to do. These are very simple sensations, but same with grumbling in stomach, right? Or even this one's maybe a little bit more complex, but the pain of grief, right? In that situation of grief, you know that in a sense, there's nothing to do. There's nothing you can do, right? It's just to feel the pain of the grief. And that is the solution to the grief, right? So feeling sensations, which we kind of look at these days as problematic, gives you the answer to the problem that they are. So as I mentioned before, we're very complex beings made up of billions of, microorganisms and cells, all with different jobs to handle the different stresses and demands of our life. An amoeba is not very complex because its problems are not very complex. Its structure and design is such to handle the demands of its life. This is the same for us. We're designed with so many moving parts to handle all the problems of our life. Along with this, these separate parts interact together to create even more unique solutions to our problems. So in this way, problem solving in our body is automatic. And like you can see, like the cell that I've put there with all this stuff going on to do all kinds of different things. And right in the middle is that the nucleus with that information of literally how to act and do everything that it needs to do, you know? So basically our body is on autopilot and it knows what to do to when something happens to us, it has a response, basically. The thing is that sorry, I'll continue with where I was going without getting sidetracked. We can trust our body to make these good decisions because we are from nature, and nature always works to balance itself out. If we trust our body, our decisions will always align with nature, which is to align which what is best for all. Basically, what is best for this organism, but also what is best for the system that organism lives in, right? If an organism is acting out and messing with the system, well, it's actually it's messing with it's kind of messing with its own, it's messing with itself in a way because you can't disconnect the organism that you are from the environment that you're in. Like no life exists in a vacuum. So nature always works to balance itself out. And we're probably going to see some of that in the next, 20 or 30 years with the potentially, the imbalanced life that a lot of humans have been living. And as a group, we've been living and how we've been treating the environment that we're in and the way that nature will essentially respond to that is probably not going to be very good for us. But anyway, so So how do these instincts come about? They come about when a stimulus from the world acts upon our body, and the body recognizes this through sensation. So that's the important part, is that the body responds well, and it does this automatic self-solving. It provides these solutions automatically when it knows what's happened to it. But if it doesn't know what's happened to it, it's going to be a little bit in the dark. So as the stimulus acts on the body, the body digests this stimulus by feeling the sensation of it, and then it provides an instinct as a solution to that sensation. So this again shows back that the information to solve the problem is actually the problem itself. So if you look at all of the sensations and the way you're feeling as a problem, which it's kind of funny because it's not really, it's just something acting on you and then you responding. It's not a problem. It's only in you. This is, I guess, what I'm getting at. It's only in your head that it's a problem, because it's actually the solution as well. So that's basically what I'm hoping to show you here, is that your pain, or how your body is responding to certain things, even if you don't understand it, is not actually a problem. It is the solution. And it's a bit of a process to begin trusting that a little bit more. But that is at the essence of what instincts are. And so when we let ourselves make these decisions from our body, we're utilizing all the intelligence that we have programmed in us and stored in our body, which is hundreds of millions of years of evolution, hundreds of millions of years of trial and error that has resulted in your body right here. So there's a fair amount of wisdom in that. When we're just relying on our ideas, we're relying on what we've managed to, basically we're relying on the ideas of civilization and what we've managed to draw from the world and our lives. But it's a very small thing compared to what has led to the creation of our bodies. So I created this diagram to help kind of visualize how we typically come to a decision here. So as I mentioned before, firstly, something happens in the world, which is the stimulus or the stressor. It can be anywhere from, a very strong stimulus, such as being, hit by a car, to a subtle stimulus, like feeling warm wind on your skin when you're standing outside in summer, or even subtler still, noticing an inflection on someone's face that gives away what they are feeling underneath, and helps you understand that person. There's layers of how strong a stimulus can be on us, and it shows how sensitive we are as humans, that we can pick up on such subtle things like that. Anyway, then this stimulus has an effect on us, which we feel as a sensation in our body. So when the stress first reaches us, the body recognizes this through sensation. Sensation is how we primarily know what has happened to us. It's only after we've felt something act on us that we can then think about it. So thinking is secondary. We often think that thinking is what makes us conscious, but really it's feeling. If you don't feel anything, you have nothing to think about. And that's that, I guess that philosophical question was like, if you had a baby that was raised without, have you heard this one? Baby that was raised without, having any stimulus its whole life, or had no senses, would it have a thought in its head? No, like it wouldn't even know that it's alive. That's how we know that we're alive, is that we actually feel things. And it says something about our culture that we think that it's thinking that makes us feel things, whereas thinking is really just a dead description of what we actually experience, So this is often where things get squirrely, I guess, because we're getting into the thinking component of it, because we often resist these sensations that we feel. So the body, something happens in the world, it acts on us, then we feel it, have a sensation in our body, and then we have beliefs, ideas, and judgments, which you can put in that reactions section, which prevent us from, or basically say that the way we're feeling is wrong. And so someone made us believe early on, or we had multiple experience of someone reinforcing that the way that we felt in certain situations was wrong. And then we separate from that and judge those feelings. And therefore we kind of alter the original experience of them, one by inhibiting the full experience of those feelings, which is through feeling, but then two, also because when we think about what we are experiencing and judge it, we kind of distort it and create a state almost that reflects those judgments and beliefs. We don't actually experience the original sensation in our body. And so instead of trusting this self-solving nature of life, we try and fix our problems by using these same generic ideas, beliefs, and mental frameworks that we have gathered over a lifetime to fix the unique and novel situation that we have in front of us. Using these ideas is just perpetuating others' influence on us. We're not generating creative and unique solutions to life. We're just playing out what we've absorbed from the world. This is like when you live through reaction. And so this is basically the source of that repetition. You know, whenever a problem is faced to us, instead of waiting for a second and feeling what's happening in our body and letting our body decide what's best for it, we go with what we've heard outside in the world. And we go, oh, okay, that person says this is what I should do in that situation. And there's so many examples of this, is like in situations where we do this because of, beliefs about sex or religion, or just a general belief that others know better than us and a distrust in what we know, or beliefs that our body is limiting us, that we almost have to be combative with our body instead of actually realizing that it's what facilitates your life. Like, it is your life, And so that's all the things that can go wrong. But if everything goes right and we don't have these reactions, everything in this process should happen naturally, and we'll just feel the sensation and resolve it in our body, basically. So that's where we get into that kind of green section there. If it's a problem if something's just happened to us, which has maybe hurt us, like a physical injury or something like that, we'll just feel it, and then it'll just subside, basically. Just because the body will absorb that pain, it will know how to fix it by feeling it, and it will start its repair process naturally. And it will heal it. There's no problem there. But if there is a problem, like in the external world, that requires a solution, because our body has been given full opportunity to understand the situation that it's in, because we've taken in all of the stimulus through feeling all of the sensation, right? The body will know very clearly what the situation that it's in is. And then because it knows what the situation is, it will be able to generate a solution to it. I'm sure probably you've felt this way at times when you've been in a problem-solving situation, and then all of a sudden you just see the situation clearly for the first time, almost. And when you see it clearly, then you're automatically like, oh, now I know what the best thing to do is. And so the problem was not that there was some hidden solution to it. The problem was that you just hadn't fully experienced what had happened to you. That makes sense? Yeah. So this natural process of trusting your body is far less painful and actually provides accurate resolutions to the problems of life, rather than trying to resolve problems from your fixed ideas. And so we'll get a little bit into that later. And so resensitizing to your instincts involves moving from a mind dominant sense of yourself to a body dominant sense of yourself. So a little bit on this is basically it's going from your, I guess you could say, how you identify being less what made up of ideas and a thought-based construction of who you think you are, and the actual physical experience of you, which is through your body. So you have to make that kind of transition across. So to do this, you have to learn to stop paying so much or placing so much importance on every thought that you think, and start paying more attention and placing more importance on what you can feel. So what perpetuates thinking essentially is that you think that your thoughts are important. If you don't think that your thoughts are important, they kind of just play on in the background and you are left to experience your life normally. Anyway, we've got reactions here. So what inhibits our instincts, as I was saying, from being at the forefront of our experience and understanding of life is reactions to the way we feel. So this is that red square on the decision-making process diagram, and it's overly relying on thinking to get by in life. When we think about ourselves, we disconnect from the direct experience of ourselves, which is what we can feel. And thinking about ourselves changes our experience and interferes with the natural process of the body. At the heart of your reactions is the belief that what you're feeling and experiencing is wrong. That's kind of always it's always comes back to that in a sense. It'll be many different ways, but they take place in the form of beliefs, biases, judgments, but they all to some extent say the same thing, which is that what I'm experiencing is wrong. And so if we react when something happens to us, we'll inhibit ourselves from feeling the original sensation, and which will prevent ourselves from knowing what has happened to us. And when we prevent ourselves from knowing what's happened to us, the body can't come up with a solution. It's just left floundering. So therefore, we'll have to rely on thinking to provide a solution, which will likely be one of these unoriginal and repetitive, essentially just memories from our past. And so how do we not react? The solution is simple, but difficult. You have to, as I said before, prioritize feeling, which is your direct experience, and don't buy into your thoughts about a problem necessarily. It takes a while to do this because initially when you start doing this, you will realize how dependent you are on thoughts and how potentially desensitized you are to feeling. And you'll have many habitual reactions to the feelings that you have in your body. It will take time for you to see these habitual reactions for what they are. But generally just realize the constrictions that your reactions place on your life, how they are designed to protect you from experiencing a full range of sensations. Your beliefs shelter you from acknowledging what you don't know. So if you have strong beliefs, they comfort you from harsh realities in life by letting you imagine that the world is not really maybe as hard or as real as it is. An example of this is that you're a body, and for all you know, your experience ends with death, like with the death of the body. In truth, you have no idea whether there is an afterlife or not. You would only believe such a thing to avoid the reality of the situation, which is that this is the only life that you are going to have, and that makes it very, very important, and that there's no more you after it potentially, and because we can't possibly know anything else other than that. So if we have a strong belief about it, that there is something afterwards, we can't prove it, but we are just living in a way that I'm going to believe it anyway because it comforts us from what we can know, which is for all I know, this is all I've got. Your judgments similarly allow you to stay safe in your mentally constructed version of yourself instead of experience things directly, as the flesh and blood body that you are. It allows you to protect ideas of yourself by judging other people or even yourself when you don't know their full story. You judge others because you do not know fully what they've been through. And that's the only reason that we ever make a judgment, is because we can't know a full situation, basically. We can only ever know directly what we're experiencing, but often our life requires us to interact with others and make judgments on their character, or make judgments on what is going to happen with how much brakes we should apply when we're approaching a corner in the car, or simple things, how long we should let our tea brew for, or something. There, we make judgments for these things, right? But they're not. We often use them to, make judgments about who we are, which is not possible, because, or not necessary, because we can actually know who we are. We just have to feel it. If we're judging ourselves, it usually shows us that we're disconnected in a way from our direct experience, because we wouldn't have to judge ourselves if we were fully experiencing ourselves and knew ourselves. So sometimes with judgments, we tell ourselves that we need to be important and valuable, because it might be very painful for us to realize that we're just normal like everyone else. We're no more special or anything. So we judge other people to maintain that idea of ourselves. We say other people are wrong, I'm right, I have to, because I'm important or whatever. So life is harsh and painful at times, and reactions are there because you have been taught to believe that it should be otherwise, basically. So the problem is not that life is hard, because your body is literally designed to handle that. Your body is literally designed to handle the life that you're living. It is designed, like we were talking about, it's hundreds of millions of years of evolution that has left you designed to handle the challenges of life. The problem is that you might be living in a state of reaction, which actually makes life more painful and confusing than it really is. You're better off accepting the reality of life, how it's affecting you, and then letting your body respond, rather than thinking that life is wrong and then trying to come up with solutions based on what you think about life, which will never quite get there. And I'll get into that soon. I think basically, in summary, on what inhibits our instincts, is it's that disconnection from the body. It's the mistrust in the body that inhibits us from engaging with our instincts. It's our reliance on ideas and thinking to make decisions instead of relying on your body. And instead of developing novel, creative approaches to life, we opt for approaches we've used in the past to solve problems. And so we achieve similar solutions, basically. And these solutions come from the fixed ideas that we have about the world, how to act in it. And they're often incomplete in a sense that they don't really satisfy us. They always seem to not really be the best solution or really get to the bottom of the issue that we have. This is because they don't really deal with the issue at all. They deal with something from the past, which is dead and gone. The issue that we currently face is still lingering in front of us. So relying on ideas and thinking will always result in inflexibility and a lack of creativity when it comes to problem solving. So this next part of this presentation is going to cover why you need to listen to your instincts, how you can do it, and what they'll do for you. So in case I haven't made it clear why you should be listening to your instincts already, instincts are how your actions in life remain relevant and up to date with the way life is right now. Without instincts, you rely on thinking and ideas to get you through life's challenges, and thinking and ideas are dead and lifeless. When you live through them, you're living essentially through ideologies and mental frameworks that you've just adopted from the outside world. You're not really living your life. You're living the influence of others through you. And so with thinking your solution to these unique problems that you face that are always novel are other people's generic solutions to generic problems. And they often might work and they might kind of solve a solution, it's kind of solve a problem, but they usually leave you feeling inauthentic, and the solution arrived at will not give you complete satisfaction. Is that like kind of relatable? Yeah. And so this is because it was an inappropriate and crude solution that didn't grow you. Whenever there's a problem or a challenge that we face in life, it stresses us, and then we always grow through it. That coming up with an instinct is essentially a personal growth into seeing a different way, essentially. When you use ideology and mental frameworks to move through life, you stay the same. You avoid the growth these challenges force um, if you use thinking to solve a problem, because you are not letting yourself really be affected by the problem. And this approach will keep you stagnant and unevolving. The alternative is to start to listen to your body's inbuilt capacity for problem solving, which is your instincts. And when you let your body digest what has happened to it by feeling the effects of life, the solution to problems come to you naturally and effortlessly. And what's more, these solutions are always unique to the situation that you're in, and they're never a repetition of something in the past. These solutions, living this way, it always feels exciting and new, and like you're at the cutting edge of your life. And they keep you engaged and feeling like you are growing and moving forward. And so how you do that is essentially you have to turn up the volume on what you can feel. A lot of it comes down to what we just covered, which is if you understand why it's important that we do so, you'll start to gather evidence into essentially the failure of your thinking. And you'll start to gather more evidence as well into the intelligence of your body. And that's really what the process is on how the instincts get stronger and stronger and stronger, is we turn down the volume on thinking slowly and we turn up the volume on feeling. And it comes because we start to realize what thinking is doing for us, which is far less than we think it is. And we start to realize what feeling is doing, which is far more than what we think it is. And so the hardest part is starting, because a lot of people feel pretty let down by their bodies. They have a lot of pain and they've been told that this is a problem and that they shouldn't be this way. And so they are very, very difficult at first to start trusting your body. But this first step, after you start to make this first step and you go, you know what, if I can look back and I can acknowledge and go, I think Nick might be right. My life does feel a little bit repetitive and I need to do something different. I'm going to take a chance here. After we take that first step and start to trust your body, you'll notice that personal development as well as that mental and physical health improve with every step that you take towards trusting yourself, trusting your body, which is yourself. This continually mounting evidence in favor of your body will accelerate this ability to listen to your instincts. And it'll keep, like I said, it'll keep turning that volume up on the feeling and keep turning the volume down on the thinking. And it eventually becomes so obvious that you need to listen to your body. You'll just automatically start to cast less judgment on the feelings and sensations in your body, and you'll be much freer to feel them. And from this deeper engagement with your feelings, you'll notice yourself starting to change. And this is an important part of the process. You need to be willing to embrace that discomfort of change, because an instinct usually feels, even though it might feel good and clear, it usually feels slightly uncomfortable because it's always introducing something new. And whenever you introduce something new and unfamiliar, it's a little bit uncomfortable because there's a little bit of fear that comes with a step into the unknown. And so it's really important that you don't judge that discomfort of potentially the new solution, or the situation that you're in, because that's part of the excitement of life, that we are constantly in that slight little bit of discomfort of, oh, I don't know how this will go. This seems new. But when you start to trust your body and you have enough repetitions of yeah, I've trusted my body and it's been right, it becomes more and more of a positive experience to feel that discomfort. And so instincts will improve every area of your life. In a personal setting, they will improve how you navigate closer, intimate relationships. They'll help you connect at a physical level with the people close to you. And this doesn't mean in a, physical, mechanical way, but more understanding how they feel by being more in tune with how you feel. In this way, it'll help you grow and change and evolve in your relationships, as well as helping your partner evolve as well. And this is because, yeah, you'll recognize these patterns of you just repeating things that you've thought about and start to place less importance of that. And just in that relationship, it's like we said, you can't separate the individual from the environment that it's in, and that includes relationships essentially. So if you start evolving in yourself, you're going to be introducing new things into the environment for your partner, which are not repetitive, and that can't help but affect them as well. So it's really good for relationships, and it'll help you, I think, maybe most importantly, see others for how they really are, and not just how you think about them. This is a big part of that connection piece, because if you spend all of your life in your head thinking, your relationships between yourself and other people are just thoughts that you have about yourself and thoughts that you have about others. It's not actually connecting with another person. It's just you listening to a production basically play out in your head about how you think about things. So you're not connecting with everyone. You're not even connecting with yourself in a sense. But it is an isolating experience because it's just what you think about everything, not necessarily how they actually are. And so in a professional setting, it'll obviously help with those relationships again, even though they might just be less intimate, but you'll know the true desires of people around you, because you'll be able to sense physically what impact they're having on your body. In this way, it'll give you an edge over your competitors and even your colleagues, as the solutions that you generate to problems that you have at work will be creative and unique, making you valuable over someone who just seems to have the same solution over and over again to something, or they have a framework. With the coaching that I do, like with rowing, you often find coaches that go, yep, this is the way that I've always done it, and this is always works. And they're never open to the crew that they get in front of them. And they just go, no, we're going to do this drill, and this drill, and this always works to make row as well. And it's that there's no creative problem solving. They're not growing with that crew. They're not really connecting to what that crew needs. It's probably the same in the hockey. Coaches are shocking for it. They, as soon as they develop some intellectual property, then all of a sudden they think they've figured everything out, and they just stick to that rather than actually realizing that their ideas aren't actually that important. What's important is the end result and the outcome. And to get the best outcome and the best end result, you need to be flexible and creative. Your idea of a person will never live up to the reality of how they really are. Your idea of a team will never live up to the reality of how it really is. And so also in this professional setting, it'll give you a very strong sense of yourself. So a sense of yourself that's not, as soon as someone says something that threatens an idea that you have about yourself, then all of a sudden you get all kind of closed up and you're defensive and all this kind of stuff. When you don't have any ideas about yourself and someone says something like that, you just know, you're like, this person doesn't really know me. And it's true, they don't really know you. And so this connection to your body gives you a very robust sense of yourself that kind of holds you robust in the face of stress or criticism, which is just, ubiquitous in a work environment. And so this one as well, physically, felt sensation informs all mechanical action. So if you're confused about how to move and use your body physically, learning to feel and trust your body is really the only way that you're really going to learn this. And in many ways, this is what coaches do. a good coach does is they help you understand how your body moves to get a desired outcome, essentially. And so all the best insights that I've had about movement and how to use my body have happened because I allowed myself to feel something different, basically. And so engaging with your body through your instincts will lead to these capabilities and capacities that you didn't know that you had. So just some takeaways, that maybe just 3 little pointers that you could remember that that can actually help you with this, and like practically implement this when you go away. When stressful events happen to you, give yourself time to sit and feel the effects of these events on you before you act. Notice if your responses are any different to what you would habitually do when you give yourself a bit of a moment to just feel what's happened to you. Rather than just respond, jump into it. Let the event affect you. Let yourself soak it all in, basically, and then sit there and see if you will see what you do, basically. In any physical training that you do, prioritize feeling yourself doing the movement. I think we've talked about this before, over any type of physical gain you might be looking for. So pay more attention to how you are doing the movements by what you can feel, rather than just getting it done. Because I see that all the time with people that I'm training, is they come in and they think that the workout is about getting it done and getting that physiological stimulus, which it is, but there's so much more available to you in terms of understanding your own body when you approach it differently. In that you'll still get it done if you approach it from the perspective, or from the place of I'm here to experience this, and so always, but especially in times of stress, try and notice how your thinking altered the way you initially felt when the stressful thing happened. Right? So if something stressful happens to you, notice how you think about it kind of blows out of proportion that thing, that event. And so notice how when you buy into your thinking, it only ever succeeds in making you more distressed. It never actually resolves the issue, no matter how much you think about it. It never gets any better with the thinking. And so as something you can try instead of this, notice how when you feel, it never makes the situation any worse. And in fact, when you can really start to feel, it actually starts to relieve you. It might make it worse in the sense that you think it's worse because now that you're feeling your pain, but nothing's really happened. The pain was there whether you wanted to feel it or not. The situation hasn't actually gotten any worse. And you'll notice over time, the more okay that you get with the stress, the sensations of stress and pain, that feeling them is actually relieving. It's like letting the pressure off almost, And so there are 3 things that you can, that I would probably implement, to get you started. Pretty simple, but they'll definitely keep you occupied, I think. And so that's it, pretty much. So now, if you've got any questions, Kim, fire away.
It's interesting you going through it, because I'm having all these epiphany moments going, yep, that was me like 6 months ago, and yep, that was me 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And, yep, that's what I've been trying to do for the last, for all the time that I've been doing this stuff on Instagram with the running stuff.
Yeah.
Particularly because I was so fixated on knee pain and restrictions in movement and those sorts of things. And in essentially what I've done is pretty much those things that you've done in the last 6 months, and not thinking about them in the language that you're using.
Yeah.
But definitely thinking about it from a perspective from my end is just about being present.
Yeah.
If I can be as present as I can, whether it's in whatever I'm doing, and just allowing the things and the sensations to come through, and not necessarily reacting with them from a mental perspective, but just allowing my body to do what it needs to do, but also equally letting go the past experiences that I've had in that sense.
Yeah.
And just being okay with it being uncomfortable. And it's interesting because and all the experiences that I've been told, if you've got sore knees, you need to rest them. Don't do what don't allow the pain to come through, because when it's painful, your body, your body doesn't like it, but it's letting that thinking go and actually thinking, you know what, I can allow a bit of pain because I can feel what it's going to, allow my body to feel it initially, but then allow my body then to acclimatize to the pain. So then it becomes less and less and less. And then you're not thinking about it, obviously. And I think that's what I've done with the running. I need to be running fit for hockey. I've been avoiding running because I know how my knees react to the running. But then I've had to allow myself to slowly let my body just deal with that and react to it, do it, get over it, and then just slowly think, actually, you know what? That actually wasn't so bad, and my body has responded well.
Yeah.
And just allowing that to happen a little bit more and then a little bit more and a little bit more. And it's like that gradual exposure.
Yeah.
I'm getting to the point now where I'm running, doing 6 suicides on a hockey field and having 2-minute rest in between, and pulled up today thinking it's epiphany today that I've just got to a point where it's like, actually, you know what? Physically, I have never got to this point before tournament ever.
That's so good.
And
I mean, I'll just kind of like help you clarify a little bit about that pain aspect. And I think we often look at pain as if it's one thing, as if there's one type of pain, right? But there's actually, I guess, there's at least 2 types of pain. Potentially, you could say 3, but the first pain is obviously like when injury happens, right? So with your knee, it might have not been like a acute injury, right? It might have just been gradual over time, but that injury was happening because of the way you were approaching your knees and the way you were running and the way that you were looking at your body, right? And now, as you've recognized this, you obviously went through a period of kind of avoidance of that pain, and now what's happened is you've kind of changed your approach to your body, and you've started engaging with your body a little differently and going, actually, the body is not the problem. The body's just doing the best it can, the body's not the problem. It's doing the best that it can in this situation. And now you've changed your approach of how you look at it. So the harm is no longer happening, right? So if you cut yourself, right, there's that initial pain, right, of the first cut. But then after that, it's still painful and it still ebbs and throbs, right? But no damage is happening. That pain is actually indicative of the healing. So for this second phase of pain, maybe, which is kind of where you're at now, is that you've kind of resolved the harm, which was more the attitude that you were taking towards your body rather than any kind of like actual physical, which was reflecting in your mechanical movement.
Yep.
But it wasn't like a smashed ACL tear or whatever, But now that you've changed that and you're no longer harming yourself, what you're now feeling in terms of pain is more just that residual healing pain. So it's actually not pain going in anymore. It's now pain going out. And also at the same time, what you're healing there is kind of the psychological avoidance and fear of that area and fear of that pain. And what that looks like is that you're actually willing to start using that area vigorously again, which I think that's really cool. Did that help a little bit? Just the way to look
absolutely.
at it?
Yeah. It's even just with the with past experience about running that high intensity stuff, because it's uncomfortable, it's hard breathing, it's high level stress on your body, and there's a certain amount of anxiety that goes along with that too, particularly when you've got a plan and you've got something in a level that you want your body to be at in a certain frame. It's just allowing yourself to be uncomfortable, because like what you said before is the thinking about what it is. If you actually just really feel what's going on, it's not as bad as what your mind is making it out to be. And it's a classic for that type of running that I'm doing. It's essentially that every single week, and it's like just allowing yourself to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and and just allowing that physically, mentally to play out, going, no, you're fine, and it's really interesting how quick now I can change that you know, my mind sometimes wants to go quite negative and provide excuse and, oh, you know, you've done a lot this week, maybe don't do as much, you know, those type of thinking that goes on in athletes' minds anyway. It's being able to calm that really, really quickly and just go, no, it's fine. I'm just going to do what I've got to do for this bit and not worry about what happens in the next set. Let's just get through this one. And then by the time you get done, it's like, oh, well, that wasn't as bad as what I was originally making it out to be at the start anyway.
It's always, that's that. I mean, that you could say is an example of judging the situation before you actually over actually experiencing it. You know, so notice when you have these judgments and notice that you can just see that they're factually not correct.
Exactly.
You know? As soon as you judge it to be a certain way, you're like, hang on, that is not actually that's not actually the full direct experience of what I'm going through. I can't really trust this thinking. And so this is part of that, you know, it's easy to sit here and talk about why you should do this and have great ideas about all this kind of stuff, you know, but it's really important that the rubber does meet the road, you know? And so that's where that is the process essentially of getting that rubber to meet the road, is realizing when the thinking is actually letting you down. You know, just not just necessarily not a type of thinking, right? It's because that's often, you know, that kind of then becomes into that mindset space, you know, of well, I'm going to allow all the positive thinking, but I'm not going to allow the negative thinking. It's actually going beyond that and realizing that generally, if I think less, my mental and physical health and performance is better. It's not thinking better. It's not thinking differently. It's thinking less entirely. If I think less about everything seems to get better. You know? And so that's that. And it's not that thinking is bad. It's not bad. It's just a very limited tool. You know, it's a tool for description and communication between people. So it's we would never be able to, no other species would ever be able to do a presentation like this and have communication like this, because they don't have language sophisticated enough to think in the ways that we do to communicate our ideas to each other. It's a superpower, but it doesn't help us understand ourselves.
No, that's right.
It doesn't help us live with ourselves. You know, it doesn't help us experience ourselves and know what we need to do in life.
Yeah, that's right. It's almost at a point where you get with your life that you're unlearning all that automation that's occurred, you know, throughout there's a essential amount of that when you're a baby and you're a child, and all those things that, as you talked about, you know, experiences that you have put on you in that space. It's almost unlearning all of that and actually just being okay with it.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean when I was saying the repetition. It's just, we're just so many people are just a repetition of their parents' lives. And they're just a repetition of their parents' lives. And there's never, it's unfortunate that a lot of people don't get to that authentic space of not listening to all those ideas that they have about everything that they've absorbed from the world, and just responding as the natural physical body that they are. You know? Like if you've got a pet or something and they've just got their own character and they just do things their own way without thinking about it or without judging themselves or anything else, you know, that is possible for humans. It looks different. It doesn't maybe look as overtly uncaring and just doing whatever they want, but it's that confidence in yourself and that authenticity that is possible to get, but it's not possible to get through a mental framework. Because that's not authentic. That's always just come from somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
It
definitely makes sense. That's for sure. It's even just breaking down the ideas of, you know, physical training and just, you know, I haven't lifted, and I would be lifting usually in my past, heavy weight to gain strength, but I haven't done any of that. In the last couple of years, it's just feeling what it's like, just doing body weight stuff and just engagement and activating the right muscles at the right time. You know, it's even just really simple stuff like doing that and just focusing on doing that stuff. And I've had by far the greater gains in that space because of that.
so much of that is like, I wouldn't call that simple. I'd actually say that's very, very advanced to be able to do that. Like a lot of people that lift don't have that sense, that fit. This is what I was talking about, that sense of your body, like not in terms of, oh yeah, I've got an idea of who I am and all this kind of shit. It's like, no, like physically, what do you sense in your body? That is your sense of self,
Yep.
you know? And that's a very advanced to be able to do that. And I'm not surprised, because you're literally, by staying attuned to the sensations that you can feel of different muscles working, you're literally like reminding yourself that these areas of you exist.
Yep.
And you are like that's the body doing that. So that's the body remembering that it is a body, essentially, which is reviving to you. You know, that is what keeps you alive. It's like if you just, that's where people atrophy and they lose function and they lose mobility and they lose strength and all these kinds of things, because they just, over time, we accrue so much kind of damage over life, which is not unnatural. We're meant to be affected by life, but so many people don't heal from it. That's the thing. And so when you don't heal from it, you just slowly shut down over your life, and parts of your body, you know what I mean? Like parts of your body get less and less use, basically. And as this happens, they atrophy, and then you end up senile, you know? So yeah.
Can't be playing hockey in that space.
Exactly. Yeah. Any other questions, or?
No, it was good. It was all, I was having all these light bulb moments as you were doing it, going, oh, that's, you know, that was me so long ago on this and this and that. And so, but just, as I say, just all different language, but essentially the same sort of principles and process. And just for me, what has worked for me is just trying to be as present as possible in the moment. And
that's, that's literally all it is. Just be present, and being present is just feeling.
That's right.
That's the simple takeaway. It's just this feeling sensation.
The next takeaway, what you said before about the judgment before it's even happened, you know, even got something planned to do. It's not worrying about how it's felt previously. It's just about getting in there and seeing what it does on that particular day that I'm doing it, and just allowing
100%. With judgment, the best thing to kind of unravel the judgment is to acknowledge that by judging, you don't know what it's like.
That's
otherwise good. Right? Otherwise you wouldn't be judging it.
That's right.
You know? So anytime that you're judging anything, the only thing that is telling you for sure is that you don't know very much about that thing.
That's right.
You know? So
that's so true.
So that'll that's been super helpful for me, just in so many situations, you know, when I think I know something and then I realize I'm just judging it. And then I go, okay, so all I really know is that I have no idea at all. You know,
so good.
But it relaxes you in a sense, you know, you connect with that reality, and you're like, oh, okay, I actually don't know what's going to happen here. All right. Well, that is the reality. What am I going to do? You know? Am I going to keep living in fantasy or what, you know?
That's right. And I think from the judgment, from the running stuff, just to bring it back to an example from myself, is you know, what's not the solution, but then the experience that I've had, I've actually opened myself up to have a much better experience about what I've done if I don't judge it the way that I've judged it before. So definitely, you're opening yourself up to that things that happen in that really good space.
Oh, thanks. Thank
Excellent.
you. I've just got one.
So much. I'm glad I was the only one on.
I've just got one more thing to talk about, because I like doing these kind of presentations. And so I'm going to start basically kind of a online community of these types of presentations / Q&A sessions on these kinds of topics of like mental health, physical health, and performance in both these spaces as well, and how connecting to your body, everything I've learned through my training and coaching and all that kind of stuff. So I haven't fully ironed out the details, but it's basically going to be like a community of people that like get together each month and have these kinds of discussions, you know? And so I haven't finalized much yet, but I'll send out a link to a wait list, which has some information about what it's going to be like and everything. And I'll send out this meeting recording as well. Cool. So I don't know if that's something that you might be interested in being a part of, but thought I'd mention it. And